Hi guys, welcome back to Herbhome. I guess we'll call this part 2 of the rabbit video. My water tank wasn't quite full yet, so I'm back. Breeding and weaning schedule, okay? Rabbits will rebreed in nature at 1 to 3 days after kindling, okay? If they are well cared for and are not overweight, they can usually handle breeding back at your choice. We usually will breed them, have them in the cage for 30 minutes to an hour with a buck, and then check back again that evening, usually 8 to 10 hours, and then recheck again in 6 or 7 days and do the same process. And there are signs that you can look for and how to check if she's ready. I'll share that in another video. But basically, so they are bred. It takes them 28 to 32 days. Now, my larger rabbits take the full 32 usually. And it just seems to be clockwork for them. So they kindle. And you're going to wean those babies. We wean it between 5 and 6 weeks. I take a few at a time over about a 3 or 4 day period so she dries up better. But I usually like to breed at about 4 weeks. So you take her out, you take her to the buck, you let her breed, you bring her back, and at some point you recheck. But that way she's got 2.5 weeks still with those babies, and before we pull the babies, and then she's got another couple of weeks to heal and, get used to being pregnant again, and before she kindles again. And when we were doing the large herds, we would breed back at 2 weeks. But the thing about, you want your does to have a reasonably long life. And if you breed that intensively, they're only going to last a couple of years. My does that I breed back at 4 to 5 weeks are usually they are very productive up until about 4 years, and then they may have another litter in the 5th year, but that's usually about the end of their productive cycle. And now some people like to wait until after they've weaned their kits, and that's okay, but I tend to think that the does will get too fat. They'll get too heavy if you don't keep them in production. I don't want them to starve. I don't want them getting too thin. I don't want them getting worn out. But at the same time, they need to be productive. They keep their body weight on better. They seem to be healthier. You have healthier litters. And that's a large part of why we have them. So for me, that's good management practice. But you have to decide what works for you. And that's the thing about watching homestead videos, about volunteering, going to homestead expos, is you walk away knowing what you think will work for you and what won't. But we tend to dress out our kits at about 8 weeks. If you wait till 10 or 11 weeks, the meat starts getting tough because they're putting on more bone, and they're going into roasters. So, and I'll keep some for that. I love rabbits too. But at the same time, and also if you're selling them, if you sell at 8 weeks to someone who either wants breeding stock or that, just has a different purpose for them. The bunnies are well built. They have enough meat on their bones. They've been eating well since they were about 4 weeks old. They've been handling food on their own and drinking on their own and everything since they were about 4 weeks. By the time they're 4 weeks, mama's milk has slowed down. It seems very, very doable, And, that's my schedule. That is what works for me. Now, I have decided that I really don't want kits during January and February because we get ice on the ground. And for me, walking down in the ice at 74 is a broken hip. So I have to watch my scheduling on my rabbits. I'll back off. you know, and give them about a month, 6 weeks break, and then I'll start up again. Oh my word, hang on a minute. I'm going to turn you around and let you see what's on my flowers over there. Can you see him? You see how beautiful he is? Isn't that gorgeous? Oh gosh. I love being down here in the garden. I hope it caught that. I haven't figured out how to switch from looking at me to looking out there and back without losing it all. One of these days I will. Guys, thank you for bearing with me on this. You know, I'm still learning how to do all this video stuff and having a lot of fun with it. But anyhow, so that's essentially the concept of working with rabbits. You know, you need to find your own schedule. Do due diligence. Do your research. Talk to people. Go and see other rabbitries. Decide what works for you. I love the concept of running them in a rabbit tractor. I don't have level ground here, so I can't really do that, you know. A lot of people are burying totes so the kits have a warmer climate during the winter and it'll be cooler in the summer. For me, that's very labor intensive right now, and I'm finding that it's not something that I feel like I can do right now. I'd like to do it, try it maybe next spring, you know. But it's important to find what works for you, you know. Are you working off the property? How much time do you have to spend? What financial resources have you got to get? You know, if your homestead is being paid for right now by where you're working out until you get things built up with income, then maybe there are different ways of doing it that would be better for you. Don't be afraid to do something different than what you see on a video. Don't be afraid to talk to other people and get different ideas. It's all about what works for you with your time frame, your money resources, your physical energy. Boy, can I tell you about physical energy. I broke my ankle back in February, and I'm still unsure on that ankle right now. It's going to take a lot more rehab to get it strong enough where I can use it. I tore everything in it. So it's changed how I do things. You know, I've been aging and slowing down, but this has radically changed how I do things. So I'm having to rethink it. I'm having to relearn it and do a lot of research and see if there are other ways that are better than what I'm doing. But I like coming down and messing with the rabbits and spending time with them. They look forward to seeing me. They look for the treats that I bring. I've got a couple of kits now that are really snuggle bunnies. Yeah, those are the ones I may, you know, that's the only problem with rabbits is there's an attachment there. As in nursing, there's a certain degree where you have to divorce yourself from it. I don't like doing that. That's one of the difficult parts of it. I also like to eat, though. So, food for thought. Oh, my word, I didn't just say that. But anyhow, guys, have a good day, and I hope this has helped a little bit. Bye-bye.